Hello, brothers and sisters. Today I'd like to speak on the topic of prophecy, and in particular some things that are going on in Israel today that point to us being in the not only the end days but the end hours. I want to show how clearly there are passages from the book of Isaiah that point exactly to what is happening in Israel today, and therefore proving that this Bible, this Word of God, is truth, that it is divinely orchestrated. But more importantly, to show that we are in the end days and that people need to turn away from their sins. Now, there are a lot of soft atheists out there, people who are waiting for that right piece of information. They've heard God knocking on their door, but because they are still yet blind and they are caught up in the world and the world's belief systems, they have not been able to find it in themselves to go to the door and open it to the Lord. And for a lot of them, all they need to see is some proof of evidence. And that evidence may very well be in prophecy, showing that this book that has been divinely orchestrated by God shows things, talks about things hundreds, in fact thousands of years ago, and yet today those things are coming into play. They are happening, and they are so specific that it's hard to deny it. So that's what I want to talk about today. And I also will be having to break this up into two videos. There's just no way I could put it into one. And in my next video, so I'm going to break it up in this first one. I'm going to be talking about the passages in Isaiah, and then in the next video explaining how it is that these things and what's happening in Israel today, and how they are these prophecies coming to pass. And then I'm also going to explain how it relates to the final Antichrist, the beast himself. So I want to begin by reading from Isaiah chapter 1, beginning with verse 22. Actually, I'll begin with verse 21. See how Jerusalem, once so faithful, has become a prostitute. Once the home of justice and righteousness, she is now filled with murderers. Once like pure silver, you have become like worthless slag. Once so pure, you are now like watered down wine. Your leaders are rebels, the companions of thieves. All of them love bribes and demand payoffs, but they refuse to defend the cause of orphans or fight for the rights of widows. So I just want to briefly explain this passage. What it's talking about is a time of corruption in Israel, that its leaders will be corrupt, that they will love bribes and demand payoffs, and that the unfortunate are not able to look after themselves. So that's this passage. Now I want to go on down to chapter 2, starting with verse 6. And it's a warning of judgment. And it reads, For the Lord has rejected his people, the descendants of Jacob, because they have filled their land with practices from the east and with sorcerers, as the Philistines do. They have made alliances with pagans. So here it talks about the leaders of Israel making deals with pagans, making alliances. It also talks about rejecting God and accepting practices from the east, such as the Philistines do. Now, going on to verse 8, it says, The people worship things they have made with their own hands, so now they will be humbled and all will be brought low. Do not forgive them. Crawl into caves in the rocks, hide in the dust from the terror of the Lord and the glory of his majesty. Human pride will be brought down and human arrogance will be humbled. So again, it talks here about the state of Israel, that there will be a falling away from God and they will be relying on their own abilities, human pride and human arrogance. And when we look at the state of Israel today, we'll find that that is exactly the case, that this describes it perfectly. Now, going on to chapter 3, still talking about judgment now against Judah. I will make boys their leaders and toddlers their rulers. People will oppress each other, man against man, neighbor against neighbor. The young people will insult their elders, and vulgar people will sneer at the honorable. So here it's talking about the leadership of Israel that is going to be made up of young, it says here boys, but it'll be young men who are going to make up the leadership. And then going on further to verse 9, or I'll go back to verse 8. For Jerusalem will stumble and Judah will fall, because they speak out against the Lord and refuse to obey him. They provoke him to his face. The very look on their faces gives them away. They display their sin like the people of Sodom and don't even try to hide it. They are doomed. They have brought destruction upon themselves. Here we see it talking about Sodom, which is known for its homosexuality. So it's speaking here about the people of Jerusalem and Israel turning away from God, accepting the ways of the world, turning to homosexuality. And then going down to verse 12. Childish leaders oppress my people, and women rule over them. O my people, your leaders mislead you. They send you down the wrong road. So here this passage is talking again about the leadership of Israel. So from what I've read, and I wish I had time to read it, everything, but I just encourage you to read it and see for yourself. Isaiah is telling us that in the final days, that Israel will be like a prostitute. They will turn away from God, rejecting God. They will turn to the ways and living like the days of Sodom. They will have women leading over them and young men. There will be corruption in the government, and the poor are not going to be looked after. So, speaking about the orphans and the widows, it's about people who can't take care of themselves. It's talking about those living in poverty. And it also talks about, about alliances being made with pagans. So in my next video, I'm going to talk about how these things are coming to pass and have come to pass. And in particular, how much of this happened, how there were 3 significant events pertaining to this that happened in the year 2006. And from that we will see that how the enemy is coming into play, the Antichrist, and where exactly we are along the timeline according to end days, in relation to end days and the end hours. Okay, that's in my next video. I hope you'll watch it. Until next time, peace and blessings.